short coffee break is over, can you please gather so we can continue in accordance with the agenda? Okay. Good morning again to everyone. As Maja said earlier, we are continuing to unwrap the beyond the state-of-the-art achievements within this euPOLIS project. And according to agenda, during this second morning session, the work packages 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 will be covered with the help of our dear colleagues Ranko, Alix, Sandra, Maja, Aleksandra, Juliana, and Eirini. And now I would like to announce our first presenter, Mr. Ranko Božović from NTUA, who is responsible for the work package 6. Ranko, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Excellent, okay. Quick reminder on what Čedo said at the beginning. I'm not sure that everyone here understands the importance of mind-changing approach to the planning. Let me give you a very short example how it works. I was a designer when I was younger in that big company, and architect would do the design. Architect would do the design of the house, and then the lady architect, my first project, she will come with us and say, look, you mechanical guy, give me your ventilation and heating, you give me your electricity, you give me plumbing, you give me this, you give me that. And we retrieve to our small offices and our drawing tables. Then we did have Kuhlmann drawing tables. And we did our design, and we contacted that lady or whoever only when we needed them. And that is where the mistake is. Now, today there is so-called integrated design system. Now, that is a word, again, many people do not know how to use. I'll give you, again, a very short example. I think this is necessary, more necessary than this. There was a big project in Juliana, Slovenia. And the architect asked me to actually try to organize integrated design. And we asked, how do you call them, the bosses, all the designers of each category, so they are leading persons in each category. We asked them to come tomorrow at 9 o'clock and stay with us until 5, to come all of them. So 15 of them came. And number one, we asked them kindly, with nice wording, to leave their ego trips behind the door before they entered. That was number one. Number two, then we explained to them the point is this. We will talk to each other on each of the architect's solutions, and we will see whether that can influence any of our decisions. For example, the architect has designed this window. We, as facilitators and who know a little bit about these things, we said, okay, for the sake of daylighting, to bring more daylight in, could you please remove this tooth here, this piece? Okay? Because if you remove this teeth, then the light will come with a different angle, and it will come deeper, and it will be better daylighting. And the architect was looking at that and seeing here, there, from the outside. He says, why not? But then what happens? Then, once he has done that, immediately the electrical guy says, okay, hold on. We have designed electricity like this. Why don't we design it in 3 rows? So today, this row is 0. This row will work on 30%, this row will work on 60%. Hence, we are saving a lot of energy. And then the mechanical guy says, okay, but my grill is there, and I was pushing the air to hit that tooth to go down. Now I have to change the disposition of my grills. And so on and so on. So this is a very concrete example what it means to design in an integrated manner. And what happened at the end of the day, very interesting. the main architect, and all these guys, we were talking, and they said, look, this is unreal what happened. We were today exposed to 15 people, 20 years experience each of them, a lot of ideas, a lot of proposals. We will not accept all of them. But I, as an architect, was never exposed to so many ideas. I only had my ideas and my team's ideas. And that is the advantage, and that is the, something that this integrated design brings. So I think it is important in the urban planning even more so, because it's multidisciplinary. And now to go quickly to today's, how do I do this? When we started designing urban environment and trying to help urban planners, we realized, because of its complexity, that we have to find a way how to attack all elements of that complexity. We realized immediately in the first project that we did together that we are actually all the time missing something because we didn't have a system. So we thought, okay, let's try to establish a system. Now, basically, we introduced that goal-driven planning matrix, but I will try to run through the elements that prepare that goal-driven planning. Goal-driven planning matrix is a system, but you actually have to construct the goals. That's easy because goals are strategic decision of the investor. But then we come to targets. For each goal, you have to define a number of targets that will actually meet that goal, and then to define the target, how it will work, you have to define solutions to meet the target. Now, what are we actually doing? We are actually establishing or inventing the whole system that will bring us back to the best realization of these goals. So we have actually realized that we have to find out, to have all sorts of tools to help us in our thinking. Because thinking in urban planning, and it is now 95%, is based on experience and knowledge, with due respect to these people, of course. But in that way, we are missing a lot of ingredients. So the first item that we actually find out through all these projects, we realize that is a lot of elements that interact with each other and bring the advantage of this interaction. So these synergies. There is a big tree in front of Cheda's office in London, and temperature inside is 26 degrees. 2 floors up is 28 degrees. And Cheda saves on energy. And it's much more comfortable. So that's a synergy. So we have actually established a whole set of synergies from these projects. And at the moment we have something like more than 300 synergies that we are actually screening through before we or when we start doing the project. So that was the tool number one, this matrix of interaction. Now I'm not, you are aware of these matrices, but I'm trying to explain what are these matrices doing actually. Now this is new. Cheda asked us to do today what we think is new, is innovative as with regard to the standard practice, and this is, I would say, at least in 90% of urban planning, this is new. The next thing is to minimize the risk from weather extremes. That is not new, but if you have a system where we establish on the left-hand side what is potential risk or hazard, and then just warn the planners what they have to take care about, that is something that's not normally happening, and this is something that we are doing with this particular tool. The next one is something that when I was working in that Energo project, big company, we had a team of quantity surveyors who are doing this. They're trying to establish the synergies between the different solutions to see how they can reduce the capital cost and the running cost. Something that is absolutely new, and we were very much praised by Europe for this one. This is that matrix of blend in. What is happening? There is a big development in London, for example, 200 by 300 meters, huge amount of money, 10 years development. and it will have a lot of negative impact on environment, on neighborhood. So we have actually asked the client, the developer, what they have done to minimize that negative impact. And they say, look, we don't have that as a system. And then we sat down and made a list of 40 possible interactions to actually activate both sides of interest to make sure that this development is working. Is your building drawing shadow on the building down there in the winter so he doesn't have passive heating? Are we using the energy from the sewage from our new one and your existing one and developing 30% of your heating load? Are we mapping who is unemployed there and try to offer training of these young people, because our new development will need a lot of workforce and they will be walking these 800 meters, they will not use traffic, they will not do the pollution and so on. So, and this is just 3 of them, there is much more. And now this is something, again it's not new, but it is very new. Madam Eva Kyle from Vienna is doing this for the last 10 years. Vienna has done a lot of it. I had an interesting dialogue with the famous architect Reben Koolhaas. I asked him, okay, this building that we are now optimizing, who are you designing it for? He says, what are you asking? I said, look, who is it for? Is it for men? Is it for women? Is it for kids? Is it for old men? Is it for someone who is nervous? Is it someone who is... He says, no, look, this is an interesting question. We actually never thought of it, but we think we are designing it for a middle-aged normal male. Can you imagine that? So basically, then comes the architect. That's a good question. Then comes the architect and says, the lady architect, she says, the distance between the trees and the building and your walkway is small. Men can go through it, but a woman with 2 cases, when she comes from the market, she cannot. Or two ladies with a kid, they cannot. So let's move it 1 meter away. Or women generally do not feel safe enough in the night. So are we providing 300 lux or just 150 lux? Is it uniform? Is it not uniform? Are there any dark corners? Now, all these, now we are designing our demo sites. Each of, how many groups we established, Mikołaj? Like 15 groups, different groups. Each of these groups of people have different interests, different ideas what they will do there, and different requirements. So we have now created a matrix that we think it's systematically resolving that particular issue, and I think that's very new. Europe is insisting that whenever we are doing NBS, nature-based solutions, there should be a certain level of business as a result of it. Created at least a small business for local people, whatever. And yes, there is a lot of opportunities, and if you again create a matrix that will actually specify what is possible, then we can. Now, there is one interesting thing. You always have a demo site resources, or any site resources that we established. Stanislav was talking about this morning. But then when you establish a certain level of MBSs, then you actually create a new resource. So if you combine these new resources with these existing resources, you're all of a sudden ending up with much bigger number of resources at your disposal, and then you can combine. So this is what this is all about. And then there is again something that was very much liked in Europe. When I was a designer, whoever of you is designing electricity or whatever, we have to lodge, Morten, do you have to lodge a security invoice, safety invoice to the client, a certain amount of money, or insurance policy? Okay, we all have to do that. But the urban planners, they don't. They don't. I have to lodge my insurance policy for my mechanical installation when I was a designer. The urban planner is not responsible in any formal way of what will happen with his solution in 10 years. Now, what our planners are doing, they are resolving today's problems. They are usually not preempting future coming problems which are today obvious. Climate change, big migration of people to the cities, God knows what, okay? So what we are proposing here, very simple system. Sorry? I need sellotape here. We are proposing actually that they simulate 6 or 7 or 8 critical functions of a city at different conditions, today's conditions or extreme conditions, as with regard to any extreme situation that we can foresee. And when you actually simulate what will happen, then you will be able to implement into your urban solution something that will preempt problem in 10 years. There was a question on one project from an architect, how do we want our city to look in 25 years? Now, it looks impossible, but it is not. Let's see what we expect to be happening in this city, something that's logical, that is common sense. And then let's try to simulate, let's put it under extreme conditions, and then let's design today to actually at least mitigate what will happen. So basically all that, these are our tools that are helping us in thinking, in creating what we call goal-driven planning matrix, which is basically a system that puts together all that thinking and help us really understand where we can draw any interests and how we can meet that interest. And this is very capitalistic way of thinking, because this is based on interest in a bottom line, and capitalism is based on interest or exploiting or getting paid for this interest or paying people for this interest. Okay, I have each of these tools explained in how to, but I don't want to go through it, there is no time. Generally, quickly, when we are designing and meeting ourselves, between ourselves only when we need to meet. All this red is higher cost or lower quality. Now we are screening every project through this system, and then when we realize there is potential implementation, then we model some of them, and then we use the better ones. Climate resilience matrix on the left-hand side, we specify what could be a hazard. On the right-hand side, we just warn the planners what to do. Integrate organic waste reuse, utilize neighborhood economy potential and create employment, and all these things. This is this blend-in matrix, which is actually become very important marketing tool for these new developments. They loved it because they are meeting much less resistance to the cities and communities if they present they are working on this system. Okay, gender matrix, this is what we talked about. These are these groups, and for example, in our project, we try to actually specify what kind of interest or solutions for each of them would be planned. Business activation matrix, we put together resources that are there with resources creating by NBSs and then create this whole system. Planners should be responsible for long term, and this is how we, what I just explained, to simulate extreme conditions and then plan now for those extreme conditions. And then generally how it worked. City of Bonn, they came with the goals. One of their goals, city management, one of their goals was set spatial and topical key aspects. And then we realized that we sit together with them, and then Cheda, myself, and our team, and then we develop targets. For this particular one are all these targets. Of course, for each of them, but for that particular one, these are the targets. Now, to actually now go further than that, we said, okay, we realized that River Rhine is not properly used by city of Bonn. We say, okay, reopen the inner city line. Let's see what is needed to be done, this to happen. So target functions, analysis that are required, city functions and concepts to meet these targets. You actually interchange that, and then from this final selection, you actually go to architect, just tell them, give us the facilities that are meet these solutions, that are meet this target. This is how it works. It is very simple. The problem is, it is comprehensive, and it looks cumbersome, like you know this goal-driven planning matrix, but I think it is necessary that if we want to do it systematically, we have to do it systematically. That's basically it. Thank you very much for your, these are these matrices we talked about. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranko, very much. So, natural-based solutions at work requires and is planned a really lot of monitoring, and how it is planned and how it will be performed in practice will be presented by our dear colleague Alix Aliaga. Please.
Thank you. So for those who do not know me, I'm Alix Aliaga, and I'm a biologist, and I work in Amphi International based in Denmark. So we are an environmental consulting company, and we're also leading the work package 7. Yes. So, like that. Okay. So I'll start first with why NBS? And what have we done until now, traditional engineering versus NBS, and how the euPOLIS innovative approach brings something new to the project, to what we know already, and how do we monitor NBS success. So just as actually Cedo was saying this morning, publish. So here is an overview. This is taken from the state-of-the-art handbook made by EU, and this you have here. It's hard to see probably, but the overview of all the publications related to nature-based solutions, and of course the wording has changed with years. It was, for example, SUDS, Sustainable Drainage Systems. Then we had the BGI, Blue-Green Infrastructures, Green Infrastructures, GI. So you can see that actually in green, light green, the green infrastructure, there is, with the years, a high number of publications related. And then BMP is the blue, best management practices, and nature-based solutions is actually in dark green here. Yes. Okay. So NBS, is it a concept or reality? We can see that actually looking at the EU handbook from state of the art, the most covered areas by recent research on NBS are actually biodiversity, water quality and water body conditions, flood mitigation and coastal resilience, microclimate regulation on air quality, sustainable communities governance, market challenges and solutions, research and innovation priorities in Horizon Europe and beyond. But public health and well-being are still not covered when planning new NBS interventions. So public health and well-being is the center of euPOLIS innovative approach to urban planning. So as Ranko described also, we have the GDPM tool. So that's now listing all the innovative aspects. So we have the GDPM, co-design, gender-related planning, citizen involvement, multidisciplinary knowledge, monitoring, evaluation of NBS, all this combination of different aspects together. And the overall objective is also to enhance citizen physical and mental health and their well-being. Here you have a bit of an overview of what we have done until now and how looking at grey infrastructures, this is what we don't want anymore. So having artificial channels with impermeable pavements, and having all the stormwater leading to one single area. What we want to do is to retain rainwater at the local scale, provide more permeable pavements, recreate habitats for local biodiversity, and all this will have some impacts on public health and well-being also. Yes, okay, and here, this is just more or less the same thing, but just showing you that with euPOLIS, believe that we sit more into this area. We are not creating natural habitats, but we are combining gray and green, blue, all colors, so we are combining green-gray hybrid solutions in euPOLIS. And concerning euPOLIS innovative approach, so we have a multidisciplinary consortium, an active citizen engagement and consultation from scratch until the end in all processes. Also, we develop solutions that will combine multiple objectives and multifunctionality, and also focus on public health and well-being outcomes. And this is a photo taken from Gladsaxe Frontrunner City in Denmark, where we had a workshop with the citizens. There was a first introduction meeting also about wearables, and we had organized this temporary urban garden just to get introduced to this project again. Okay, so this you have seen a couple of times already. These are the solutions, and I will not go into details again, but just to give you some examples of Piraeus, what has been selected. So we're going to build a multifunctional NBS-based pocket parks, and those benefits that are listed here, so removal of air pollutants, reduction of exposure of citizens to direct sun, improve biodiversity by creating habitats, reduce noise pollution, increase public social spaces, and improve the sense of well-being. All those aspects somehow brings them a multifunctional NBS. The same applies for Belgrade. And the same for woods. So you can see here there's also a map that was provided by the city of Woods, so where we have rain gardens and tanks to collect rainwater at the local scale, water sources, and we provide also shelters in green here for biodiversities, water playground, and infiltration, retention basins in light green, and dark green vertical gardens. So waterways, that's another solution that has been selected by Belgrade, Gladsaxe. So the expected benefits will be higher reported well-being and mental health due to exposure to green space and supporting biodiversity. So we'll provide visual access to water sounds, nature sounds, smells. All this can actually combined can have some positive effects on the well-being. And the meadow and the pond can also become a place to relax, gather, or reflect, enjoy the landscape. Then we have in the NBS for surface runoff quality with biofilters that's selected in Piraeus in Greece. And the expected benefits are to have an urban runoff attenuation, enhance water quality of surface runoff, reduce pollution in the canal, also some aesthetic values, and improve sense of well-being by having daily contact with greenery, and has an ecological value as well. Then we also have an example here of one of the products that is implemented, that will be implemented in Denmark, in Gladsaxe. This is called the BioWater Klimapond, and it collects rainwater from the roof, and at the same time provides new habitats for the local species, local biodiversity, and then recreate a social space. And this picture is taken from a place in Aarhus in Denmark. So we expect also to have an improved rainwater retention at the local scale, improved ecological connectivity by creating new habitats for the local biodiversity, increased well-being also with daily contact with nature, and reduction of UHI effects. And those, when I'm saying now reduction of UHI effects, I haven't come to the monitoring part yet, but this is also the purpose of this project is showing that combination of all those nature-based solutions together will have we will monitor all these effects of those solutions together. Sorry. Okay, this is a groundwater abstraction for water, energy, greenery nexus. So far as I know, maybe someone can tell me, but I don't think there is any of the front-runner cities that have selected this solution. Belgrade? Okay. Thank you, Ronco. Okay, so it's about saving drink water and potable water instead of using groundwater. So we will collect rainwater and multifunctional NBS canopy for socializing. This is another example taken for Gladsaxe. So they want to implement a wooden pergola, and the green bus stop is a solution that might also be implemented in Belgrade, to be discussed still. And this green bus stop, it provides also a space for it's cooling down the temperature at the local scale, and it also provides new habitats for a stepping stone habitat for local insects and birds, and also collects rainwater on the ground. Okay, and then we have live vegetation, shaded waterfront promenade. So this is implemented in Piraeus and Belgrade. We have reduced exposure of citizens to direct sun, again improve biodiversity, increase public social spaces and well-being. We have greenery for air pollution reduction. That's also in Belgrade, Piraeus and Woods, to reduce the exposure of citizens to air pollutants and increase sense of well-being. And here we have also the Eco-Edo hub that we'll talk more about it this afternoon, and this is going to be implemented in Belgrade. This hub will be equipped with content to attractive content for public health and well-being, for education, and there will be all sort of small NBS within this hub, including urban farming and reusing of rainwater. And last but not least, coastal sea bottom marine aquatic biotope. So this is something that is being done in Piraeus, where they will recreate also small habitats for the marine, recreate small marine ecosystems in the coastal area, in the canal. Yes. So, and coming to the monitoring part, so we have actually a very comprehensive monitoring where we look at social, environmental, public health, well-being, business, and so on and so on. And Sandra will tell more about it afterwards. So we have, looking at the environmental monitoring, we have in situ sensors, biodiversity field surveys, satellite imagery, environmental modeling, public health and well-being monitoring, we have the wearables, to measure the heartbeat and other aspects. And then we also have questionnaires. And for social monitoring, we have also questionnaires and other qualitative methods. So in this way, we'll be able to assess the benefits and co-benefits of the NBS interventions. This is just to show you that we also, to assess the different indicators, we have looked at, of course, the existing literature and how in this case, it was the indicators that are related to biodiversity and public health and well-being, how we can highlight correlations. For example, with higher diversity of birds, there will be a reduction of depression. So they have made several studies about this, and we also aim to show some interactions within euPOLIS project as well. Yes, and this is just an illustration of the different sensors, that and wearables that we are using. And also for optimization of the NBS, we also do some modeling, for example, with the uVote, which is a decision support tool. That can allow to compare different water management technologies like water saving, recycling, treatment, and drainage at different scales. So to conclude, the beyond state-of-the-art in NBS implementation and monitoring, so we have a citizen engagement and involvement in all stages of NBS implementation, in the consultation, co-creation, approval, also implementation, and then in monitoring and the collaborative NBS monitoring with volunteers for wearables, citizens able to track the local conditions at all times. Combination of also multiple monitoring approaches, permanent sensors, standalone sensors, wearables, field surveys, questionnaires, and optimization of the multifunctional NBS interventions that will maximize all the benefits and cover all aspects. And finally, also using modeling for best optimizing all the solutions that we selected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Now, I'm very pleased to announce Ms. Sandra Baki, with the evaluation of the euPOLIS solutions and transfer of knowledge from the work package A. Before you start, I just have to mention something. We have started to work together at, I will not say how many years ago, at 2006. I hope that we do not look so old. But I'm very, very, very pleased that the second generation from the NTUA and the Faculty of Civil Engineering Belgrade is continuing the fruitful collaboration within the European projects. Sandra, please. I forgot, I'm sorry, Alix reminded me, I missed to represent myself. My name is Branislava Lekić, I'm from Faculty of Civil Engineering in Belgrade. I'm sorry.
Let me warn you, I'm very bad at speaking on a microphone, so please bear with me. So for those who don't know me, my name is Sandra Baki. I'm from the National Technical University of Athens and the Urban Water Management and Hydroinformatics group. And today I have a presentation about the work that we are doing in task 8.1 and certain aspects of it that we think are kind of innovative, since this was the topic of today's meeting. So specifically, we have developed a methodological framework and tool, which is going to be part of the overall euPOLIS assessment framework. And this is like a complementary decision support tool and methodology to complement all the other things that we have heard today within euPOLIS. And its main purpose is to, first of all, produce very communicable outputs and insights about a site during this site screening exercise, which is the first thing that we do when looking at the pilot, and then taking these results to facilitate a preliminary NBS selection by assigning an initial efficiency score to each NBS. So where does this all fit into the overall euPOLIS methodological process that we have conceptualized with this schematic that you see here? So the first thing, as I said, that we do is this site screening. So we collect available data, we do stakeholder consultations. A lot of this work happened in work package 3 that Ranko and Branislava explained. So we did the estimation of contextual indicators that also Anya explained, which are used for the site screening. So then we are able, through the site screening, to understand what are the most severe problems faced within this pilot. And then this will help us to identify potential NBS interventions through the urban planning processes and the GTPM methodology, which happened in Work Package 6. Together with stakeholder and expert consultations using a co-building process. So then the second pillar of our analysis comes in and gets these identified NBS that would be effective in addressing these issues at our pilot site, and do a preliminary NBS impact assessment in a similar way that Alix showed us for various interventions around the euPOLIS pilot sites, resulting in an NBS scoring and ranking according to their effectiveness in addressing the specific concerns of each site. And that would give us a first selection of appropriate effective NBSs. Before moving into a more in-depth NBS evaluation using more advanced methods, for example, modeling tools like simple tools or even more advanced tools that could be used depending on the nature of the problem that we are examining. And that will actually lead finally to the final NBS selection and design. And that will actually inform on what type of evaluation indicators do we need to monitor. So each site will have like a tailor-made list of different evaluation indicators that need to be monitored, and these are selected based on the expected impacts that we are anticipating, as well as various co-benefits, for example, with regards to sustainability or circularity, but also other more general concepts such as livability and well-being that Anya presented earlier. Then we have, of course, the NBS deployment and the actual monitoring of these evaluation indicators before we reach the final state of the NBS performance evaluation based on these evaluation indicators. So in this presentation, I am going to focus on step 1 and 3, which is a part of the methodology, the innovative methodology we have developed. So the first step is the site screening. We based all of this on the contextual indicators which were initially developed in Work Package 3. but then we, based on this initial application and these initial definitions, we continued with a thorough refinement of these initial indicators after all the lessons that we've learned and problems that we faced in their estimation as well. So we classified these refined contextual indicators in basically 3 different groups, and the one that we are really interested in is these main indicators, as we call them, because they are referring to specific problems that could be potentially addressed through a nature-based solution. So what is the aim of this task? Is to identify the most critical problems that we have in a site through these contextual indicators, and this will help us choose and design appropriate solutions. For this purpose, based on these contextual indicators, we define 28 in total different concerns, which are grouped into the 5 euPOLIS categories: the environmental, urban development, social, business, and health and well-being, to cover most of the important challenges and themes that urban sites face today. Each concern can be estimated by 1 or more contextual indicators. This is a common list of concerns for all sites to facilitate a more, let's say, standardized screening process and provide communicable results in a structured way. So these are the 28 concerns that we have formulated based on the main contextual indicators. I'm not going to go into detail. All of this is included in the deliverable 8.1, which is about to be submitted. Based on this, these are quantified via the contextual indicators. But how do we know what do these values mean? What is a good value or a bad value? How do we know if a concern is a problem in a specific site? For this purpose, we have set appropriate thresholds to each of these main contextual indicators to assess the level of severity for each contextual indicator and the related concerns. And the different levels of severity, of problem severity that we have defined is high, moderate, low, no problem, or not a concern. Not a concern is actually not a level, it's just saying that this particular problem is not of concern for the specific site, so we are going to exclude it from the analysis. For example, the Ralio school in Piraeus, it is irrelevant to think about business activation there because it's a school, so we're not interested in that, and so we are excluding it from the analysis. So this is a qualitative selection, but it is based on a quantitative assessment of available data and information sources. So we used Actidi Laveri as a case study to showcase this methodology. And we did this site screening process based on all the available data that we have gathered, environmental, social, that were readily available. No monitoring specifically for this purpose was done. And so we evaluated each of the contextual indicators and concerns. So this is the tool we have created. It's an online tool, a decision support tool. We developed it specifically for euPOLIS. And in the first stage, we put all the site screening results for Actidi Laveri. So it's a big matrix where we have identified for each of the concerns if they're high, low priority, not a problem, etc. So these are the results of this site screening process that we did for Actidi Laveri, and you can see the site concern score for each category, but also the overall score of the specific site. So, for example, you see that Actidi Laveri has got the higher the score, the worse for the pilot is. So you see that there is a high concern with environmental issues. It's not scoring very well, so it has a big share of let's say, environmental problems, but also indicated like physical health and well-being. But having said that, we would like to point out that there were not available data for, especially for health and well-being at the local scale. So we used national scale data, which is not the best, because then we cannot have information, very local information about the specific problems in the area. But this is a very useful exercise in highlighting what data we need to collect to be able to assess this. So this is the site screening process for Piraeus. And for example, here we can see the score for each of the 28 concerns. So we see, if we zoom in, we see that there are quite a few environmental problems here, as I said, with extreme heat, water scarcity, water quality, flooding, air quality. So many environmental problems, and also green space per inhabitant in the urban development. Social problems are of moderate concern, and then we have the unemployment as well as high, and then we have the health and well-being issues, but again with a note that this is national data. So we move on to the second pillar of this methodology, which is to do a preliminary impact assessment of initially identified NBS. These NBSs were highlighted, were identified through the GTPM process. So the GTPM process used the results of the baseline assessment to produce, out of the hundreds, many potential interventions, a refined list of potential interventions that could be useful for a specific site. However, not all of these identified interventions can be applied because, of course, budget limitations, etc. So we need to do a prioritization of these, and this is where our methodology comes in to try to quantify them in a fast and quick way to then go more into detail. So this NBS list is site-specific. And we asked, work groups helped us a lot with this task, and we asked them to justify and select an expected impact on each of these concerns. So this is a quick assessment based on literature review and expert opinion. No detailed analysis, no modeling, etc. at this stage. It's a preliminary stage. So, and we also, when assessing the impacts between an NBS and certain concerns, we also try to look at interactions between impacts between different categories. So an NBS has an impact, let's say, on air quality, but this, how does it affect physical health and well-being? Or another one has an effect on urban development, the green spaces per inhabitant. How does this affect social aspects that we are interested in? So 3 types of impacts can be selected. One is direct impact, indirect impact, or no impact at all. So this is, again, our case study in Piraeus, in Acti di Laveri. We have identified, many different interventions that could be applied with potential locations. This was done in work package 6. And these are like 9 interventions that were highlighted for the specific area. Alix showed some of them. Then we asked the work groups to do this very cumbersome exercise in selecting impacts for each of these possible interventions, and we have it results into this big matrix of concern versus NBS impact. So at the end of that, after having these two things, first of all, the assessment of the severity of each concern at the pilot site and the possible impact, expected impact of each NBS, identified NBS to address this specific concern, we calculate an NBS efficiency score. With the concern severity and the NBS impact on these concerns. The higher, let me explain a bit more what this means. So if we have a big problem with air quality, let's say, it has the biggest severity, and we implement an we think about implementing an NBS which directly affects this high severity problem, then this NBS gets the highest score for this specific concern. So for Actidi Laveri, we ended up with these final scores and total NBS efficiency index. So we see here that, for example, the pocket park has the highest score. It obviously addresses many of the site problems, closely followed by the planting of trees and shrubs along a pedestrian way and cycle path. So this is you can see here the overall score, but let's go into more detail because, okay, here you can see them, these interventions ranked, so from a highest score to the lowest. But this is not only, this type of ranking is not enough by itself. We need to take into account other factors. So, and this is where the whole co-building and stakeholder consultations come into play. So, during Work Package 3, each city, together with its citizens, identified which are the most significant priorities, the top site priorities for the specific site. In the case of Piraeus, it was green space per inhabitant, extreme heat, as well as water quality not in general, but the water quality of the canal in Actidi Laveri, which is a very central feature of the area, but it has a degraded water quality and it is seen as a problem by residents. So in this ranked list, we see that the first two high-scoring NBS is the pocket park and this intervention on the pedestrian walkway. And they score pretty highly, and they have direct impacts on two of these top site priorities. Then we see that the other ones, the other interventions, even though they are scoring highly, they do not address the third top site priority, which is first addressed by the biofilter that Alix showed us, which is actually here. It's further down in the scoring. And it's the first one that directly impacts this top site concern. And the other one is the green harbor elements, which are basically these living sea walls that Alix showed as well. So it's very important to see this in a way that, okay, we're not getting only the interventions that are the most effective ones, but we address the most important issues for this area as also identified by citizens. And that will help us, considering budget limitations, that we have to do an optimal, let's say, mix of different solutions that will address different problems. So here is another way of seeing the impact of each NBS across the different categories, environmental, social, economic, etc. The biggest, the area that the spider diagram occupies, the highest the efficiency. And this, if we further zoom in into each interventions, we see the impact score it has for each of the concerns. So this is the pocket park, the most effective, let's say, intervention. It addresses very well three environmental problems, and also an urban development and health concerns as well. So, and we can see that it addresses many of the concerns. Whereas the Green Harbor element has a different, let's say, type of behavior. It addresses very well the water quality concern, which is of high importance, and specific social and business and health aspects that are clearly associated with such an improvement in water quality. So it has more of a targeted, let's say, effect. So to wrap up, the innovation in this is that this is a simple methodological framework based on readily available data in order to provide a quick assessment. The main benefit of this is that it provides a quantifiable analysis and not based only on subjective criteria and best practices. And it's, for this reason, I think it will be ideal in being combined with other urban development methodologies. It is a useful DSS. We have created this online tool that urban planners can use, and it's publicly available. It's the first version. We have ideas of further developing it, and it has flexibility in that, for example, we can add more concerns that are of interest, or we can put other considerations, like, for example, budget considerations, which are very important. So if you have any ideas, I would be very happy if you went in and had a look at it and tell me suggestions and what you think, whether it's easy to use. So, yes, and this I think is very useful before going into more detailed modeling as a step, to do a prioritization, a ranking before going into modeling, and finally designing NBSs. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Before we continue, I would like a short consultation with Maja. We are, by the agenda, 35 minutes behind, but I suggest, since these were very, very interested presentation, to shorten a lunch break or afternoon sessions. Is it okay? Probably I will try. Okay. Innovative approach to spreading the euPOLIS philosophy will be presented by the Mikser crew, Ms. Maja Lalić and Aleksandra Malušev. Thank you.
Thank you. We will try to make up for the time, but, well, basically, which one? Okay. We try to really be functional in spreading these innovative things that you guys do all the time, but we have to also complain, and this is not only our challenge, but the global challenge. We hear a lot of debates putting the blame on scientists, on experts, not being communicative enough to really pinch the bubble in which they are working and experimenting and creating fantastic results for the humanity. But it's probably maybe even too ambitious to expect that someone can be brilliant in two fields, in communication and in what really they do, which puts us in a little bit of a different role, not just to make projects visible, but basically to have to translate along the way, to reach as many different audiences, and our main purpose is to translate things that matter in the lab, on the field, in whatever your field you're doing, to citizens, to people who decide on behalf of us, decision makers, and to people who run businesses. Those are our three major, let's say, the primarily categories. When we say citizens, of course, we're all citizens, but how does it affect their daily lives? So basically, if you look at some research, the scientists are still at the top of being the most trusted professions in the world. And we sort of see a lot of missed opportunities there because we can really transform the society in general. So also we live in very interesting times. Our role is also to not only spread the world, the news about achievements we do as scientists and experts, but to also listen back, to hear what citizens are concerned with, what are their needs, and so on. So we really need them as almost like an additional expert category in everything that we do. So we're now really closely looking into, and luckily we are also social partners and we deal a lot with participation. So in our case, communication is about connection. So that's our main role, how to connect, how to find something which is really valuable to each of these groups so we can work with that, we can make them understand and relate to their own position. So we analyze all these indexes, and we ourselves as a project is dealing a lot with the definitions of well-being and what we care about, what do we feel fulfill us. So later on this debate, it will be pretty much on this and how we are actually as a society keep listening to citizens and making the environment in which we all live more happy. But that changes as well. Maybe 1,000 years ago it was well-being just having clear water, but today we want to connect, we want to feel loved. More and more social topics are coming into our lives as our awareness that we're happy or not, we're satisfied or not. And this list is being updated. If you look at the World Happiness Index, the Happy Planet Index, the Gross National Happiness of UN, every year the list grows. Like our list with indicators, we already know this complexity, but the citizens are also learning and they're also talking to themselves, not only by going to the psychiatrist, and we have these antidepressants really growing the use of them, but they're also can tell us a lot, and our role as communicator, and this is what we're trying to make the beyond state-of-the-art in communication, is basically to provide this two-way channel, and that's why a lot of our communication is actually having to do with engagement. This is also how all these new ideas about our own happiness are really reflected in businesses. So before, you used to have this sort of a kind of consumption model that people were happy just to have abundance of things to consume. But more and more, people want experiences. They want to belong. They want to interact. They want to, of course, they will buy a Coke once they gather, or when they learn something new, or when they connect, or when they feel useful. But that it's already not now, but it will become less and less the main purpose of businesses. So we again need to translate and communicate their agencies dealing with these trends, especially with the new generations, decisions that they're making based on what do they care about. More and more environmentally awareness is coming into play. So this is like a train that is running, and probably there will be businesses who will suffer if not really understanding that it's not only about their brand's visibility, but about feedback from consumers. And if you look at it, what else are citizens? They're consumers of services, of goods, of all benefits that we create for them. So they're our customers as well. So basically the whole idea of us, how we're trying to really juggle also is to create this two-pronged approach where we really need citizens as much as we want to communicate what we are doing. And basically we're using euPOLIS and all these ideas that also Anya was mentioning, the euPOLIS hubs. And all of us, like partners, this is why we're like crying all the time, use your networks, yours, to create this amplifying effect. Because when we get this, by actually telling about project, translating it, we're trying to create a storytelling that is really valuable for each of these different categories that we've mentioned, because not the same story sells to the city official or to a business that is run internationally and so on. But what we're getting back is this knowledge of citizens. And Ranko knows when we were doing in projects in Savamala, there's a lot that we've learned for people who already knew the sites beyond our indicators. They had this really valuable knowledge. So all of this is creating this amplifier effect that we really hope this project will create in each of the fields that we're belonging, in each of the local environments. So it's really the power of many that we're talking here. And we were already mentioning the different tools and why we really cannot submit ourselves to the tools. They're just ephemeral, they will change. We really need to just abuse them to really get there and mix equally this online and offline. But my primary goal is to really reach even those the unreachable ones. So to really give the floor to the storyteller that is really trying best to use all, because you know how our deliverables look. They're really somehow illegible to many normal people. So we really need to do this storytelling every day, and we need your helps to help us translate these frightening indicators into something that we can really not sell in a bad way, but connect to different people that can help us tomorrow to really do this upscale everywhere, not just in our demo sites. So, Aleksandra, please.
So to pick up on what Maja said about not being all about the channels and the tools and the technology itself, it's about how we shape our messages. So we have a knowledge, so we have a discovery, so we have a breakthrough. We have to communicate it differently to all different audiences. So what we've done so far, trying to convey our message, is one part of it is our interviews on the website, and what we've been trying to accomplish is have the top-down stream of information and knowledge flow, actually. So we had interviews with EU officials, with people who know what is going on in the legislative processes, the new standardization and all that. And from the other side, we have a bottom-up experience. That's where we try to interview all the citizens from our demo sites, so we have also their insight on the matter. It's on the right? Yeah. Also, we have our own euPOLIS experts interviews, but also I would like you to point out, and if you can see, I hope you can see the headlines of the articles. We actually have to play the game of the new media. Once media was all about education and information. Now we have this really weird combo of infotainment, and it's not the combination of information and entertainment. Actually, the information has to be entertaining. You have to tease them, you have to capture them, you have to steal their attention to actually read something that's informative, that's educational, that's useful in real life, instead of, what most people read and click today. It's not that. And by doing that, we can really increase the overall scientific literacy and curiosity, so that actually our scientists, our experts become the main people in the society instead of, so far celebrities. And also, this is, I think, the most important question, and what we need to achieve by communicating euPOLIS project is what it does to our daily lives. So one aspect of approaching citizens and communicating our ideas is festivals, and that's what we've been doing for the past, you've been doing for the past 12 years, and that's engaging all kinds of experts, all kinds of, activists, citizens who are interested in all kinds of topics, and we provide them with the opportunity to talk to each other. So experts get to get some kind of feedback from citizens, from businesses, from artists, why not, from all kinds of engaged and empowered people, and they get the chance to talk, to exchange ideas, and you can see some pictures from the last year Mikser Festival. And also, storytelling is really about, if you remember what our grannies used to do and used to tell us stories, it's about human connection, and it has a lot to do with face-to-face connection. And what we've done so far is, of course, meeting the citizens, listen to them, talk to them, provide them with all the extra explanations they might need. Also, there are call to actions. We were trying to engage young professionals. If you remember the competitions for the designing of the Aguado hub and the pocket park in Zemun, local communities, especially marginalized groups, and also events like this when the experts have the opportunity to meet each other and exchange ideas. It's excellent what Ranko was saying before about synergizing their knowledge, their experience, and how great things can become and get out of it. And that's me so far. And I would like to really pompously now announce our partners and colleagues who came all the way from Bogota, Colombia. And if I can say I have my favorites, that's them, because, you know, all the way from the start they've been putting so much effort. And actually all the things I've been saying about here and now, they've been doing it in person and in field. So please welcome. And I think
just to mention that this is like a teacher's pet kind of thing. We're calling out to them to show how a follower city is basically implementing this philosophy on the field, creating the buzz, really not missing the opportunity to make these ideas visible. And even though they're not really implementing this time with this project, I really bet on them, and I really bet that they've transformed many people with sharing this euPOLIS approach and knowledge. So please, biggest applause, because they came the furthest. Juliana here, and the ERU colleagues.
Thank you. Do you listen well? Yes? Okay. So we are the Bogota team. Many of you already know us. We are Juan Guillermo Jimenez. He is the manager of the ERU, that is the district enterprise of the city. And Joana Victoria Espera, that is the manager of the Urban Development Office of the ERU, and me, that is Juliana Uribe from the Los Andes University. So one of the key aspects of our team is that we are a multidisciplinary group with academia and also an institutional representation. Detail
on the most important things. I appreciate all the interventions, and especially Rado, because we are working very hard in this work to reach synergy between city organizations, civil organizations, university, academia, and our government of the city, because we live in a city maybe that has a lot of difficulties, very different from our cities, and we have a very big city, almost 8 million people population, and it's a city very segregated. In the south part, in this part and the peripheries live the low income,
the vulnerable people,
yes,
of the city.
And the north and
in the north part
live the people who has high
incomes. Yes.
Yes. And the city is very segregated, and it's difficult to move in the city, to have the same opportunities and facilities, urban facilities. So we now are implementing not only this project, but other projects to try to give more equality, more accessibility to the opportunities, and to have a city for the life and not for the death. Yes, is the message. And so
in the work package 3 that we participate as follower cities, we had an interesting incitement to identify our requirements or our barriers for NBS implementation. And one of the key barriers that we identify is that we have an absence of knowledge about NBS. We don't have professionals involved in NBS. We don't have a high skill quality professionals doing this kind of solutions, but we use NBS, but we don't have a concept that covers all those things. So we start from the bottom, and we think that the main aspect of our participation in euPOLIS project is to start improving the knowledge about NBS and start working with people and start working with the students and also with the institutions to improve the knowledge about that and to make an NBS network in the city. So this is the team, the Bogota team, Juan Guillermo that is present here, Giovanna, Susana that can come here, Juan Pablo that is my professor, and me. So our strategy it's based on in different scales. We start with an international scale because of euPOLIS project. So we participate in every kind of dissemination event of the project. At national scale, we develop different kinds of events, and also at local scale, at low scale, we are trying to involve the citizens and the civil organizations to be involved with the institutional organizations and to speak in one board to discuss this concept. So we developed the first 3 webinar series that is about healthy habitats. We start by identify what are the aspects of healthy habitats. So we start by abord the well-being concept. In the second session, we start working with other sister projects because we identified that there is a lot of European Commission projects in Bogota and in Medellin. So we do a second session of the webinar with other sister projects like Connexus and Inhabit. And in the third session, we find out experts about healthy in the cities and the relationship with nature-based solutions, and we make like a board of experts that that identify the main concerns of the city and what is the relationship with the health benefits. The last July, we developed also a local scale, the first workshop with the citizens, and we identify different projects that they are made in the city. Urban orchards, we have also a lot of environmental groups that work with art and nature, and they involve the citizens around NBS, about local NBS, and we make like a workshop with these civil organizations, but also with the institutional programs of NBS implementation in the city. So it was like a place to share ideas at different scales. We also have the pleasure to meet an Inhabit director or coordinator, that is Maria del Mal Delgado. She goes to Colombia and she contacts me, and we have a pleasure meeting with she and the team of Bogota of Inhabit. We discuss different types of ideas, maybe key points of the projects.
I speak in Spanish now, slow, and Juliana, help me please.
Okay.
La sinergia universidad-empresa.
The synergy between academia and the enterprise of the city
nos hizo interpretar lo que ya hacíamos de manera natural, la implementación de soluciones basadas en la naturaleza, regularlas en los proyectos y tratar de medir el impacto en los proyectos.
Do the process of identifying nature-based solutions that we already have implemented, but to quantify the benefit about this implementation.
Sí, y perfeccionarlas y empezar también con la gente de la administración pública, del gobierno, a entender qué es soluciones basadas en la naturaleza y poder hacerlo juntos.
Yes, to start improving the knowledge in the institutional management of NBS and how to implement NBS in the city.
Entonces vamos a ver unos proyectos. Este es un concurso. El 13 de octubre se va a presentar un video. Aquí lo tenemos en la tarde, lo podemos ver, de cómo el concurso produce un proyecto de recuperación, de reuso de unos edificios patrimoniales, de un heritage de la ciudad, para convertirlo de nuevo en un hospital. Era un hospital originalmente, pero abrir sus jardines y habilitar un espacio verde en un lugar de la ciudad donde no hay árboles. En el entorno hay 3 árboles contados, más lo que hay adentro.
So here we will present a video that we will present in the week of region cities. That is a project of a marginalized space in the city that just have 3 trees. So they will implement different types of nature-based solutions that improve the management of the city and also the well-being of the citizens.
Okay, dale.
As dissemination of scientific activities, we have the implementation or the call for papers of sustainability, in which Juan Pablo Rodriguez, my professor, and Anja Renderovic and Ana Migic are co-editors, so you are welcome to improve the knowledge about NBS with different types of articles. And here we are going to present a bit of this scientific dissemination that we have made. Our case study is El Reencuentro, so one of the main issues of El Reencuentro.
One project of the administration, yes. They work on this project with this application of NBS.
Yes, the ERU give us this case study to analyze the improvements by NBS solutions implementation. So we start by identify the requirements in the case study, and then we develop like a decision support tool to identify which types of sustainable urban drainage systems can be implemented in 4 types of scenario restricted by the budget. So the A scenario is related with the no budget restriction. The B scenario is related with a high budget restriction, and these are like middle budget restriction. So we implement an optimization tool to identify the suits availability, feasibility in the project, and the best types of suits that they can implement. From this work, the ERU take the results and introduce it or compile it in the urban planning of the project. So it was useful.
So we continue with this work and we present the urban planning, trying to make el match entre
the match between academia and institutional
and
government.
Community, because we apply en unas encuestas.
We also apply a questionnaire to the institutions and also to the citizens to be involved in the process of the selection.
And to put that in this project. We start and we try different scenarios to show how we can apply the NBS in green areas, again, an area very no green area, very sin árboles también.
Yes, there is a lack of green spaces, a lack of NBS in general. It's very great.
Entonces, aplicándolo al nuevo espacio público, bajando el nivel de tráfico vehicular, la pirámide invertida de movilidad, y mejorando las condiciones de permeabilidad del suelo, porque en Bogotá llueve mucho, clima tropical, la ciudad se inunda completamente, muchas veces cuando llueve es difícil caminar, entonces también buscando nuevamente áreas para drenar el agua, lluvia.
So the key problems of Bogota, there is a lot of rain and there is not management of that rain, so there is a lot of flooding, and also there is a lot of gray. So there is not NBS solutions to avoid the flooding events.
Okay. Entonces, esa es la primera aplicación, sí.
We also, from the university, develop an undergraduate internship euPOLIS program. We started at the beginning of the project, and we received different kind of students that were involved in the project. They assist to the reunions. They made different types of analysis about the El Reencuentro case study. And we already have 6 undergraduate students that were involved in euPOLIS, and they are happy to be there.
Okay, the next. We are working about synergy between academy, institutions, administration, civil organizations, and no-profit organizations and community, yes, in this project. And we can see the next step we are trying. We need your help. Really, we need your help. Now, again, the map of Bogota. We are focused on Reencuentro, the piece we are working now with Los Andes. We have another area where Bogota has almost 8 million inhabitants, but doesn't have a rail metro.
Yes, we don't have metro.
We don't have. We are building our first line, and this is the first and the second projected line in this area, and very important to work there. And we have another area we are working now with Los Andes in another project, is between the urban and rural area. And it's very important because this morning we, I don't remember, no, Janovich, for me it's yes. No Cedo.
Ranco?
Yes, you! We are talking about the river, the water, etc. Bogota is a city of water, and this area especially important for because produce water. We are in the Páramo. The Páramo is
it's like a ecosystem to like a water fabric. We have a lot of vegetation that capture the water from the clouds and bring it to the land.
Yes, we are in 3,000 altitude meters. 3,000 meters.
It's the Páramo of Sumapaz that is the larger of the world. Yes, so.
And this is a very special area because we have to protect the water. We produce water. We are very rich in water, but that is una presión de urbanizar.
There is a lot of contamination, and also there is a high pressure of urbanization, of informal urbanization in that watershed.
So we are working in these 3 areas in a systemic work with these professionals, different professionals, and these issues are we are focused. And in the environmental issue, we are working con las soluciones AMBS in this en estos temas.
Yes.
So we can see some challenges for these areas. This is the area where it is the first line
Of the metro.
of the metro, the second line of the metro in the future, and this is the Reencuentro area. We have in Reencuentro heritage, we have grupos representativos de la sociedad.
Vulnerable groups, we have different kinds of citizens, of vulnerabilities over there.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Yes, a lot. And the other area, in Usme, we can see we have a river, another river here, and we have these strategic ecological systems ligados al páramo.
Yes, the challenge here is to manage the ecosystems with the urban pressures, because there is a high urban pressure.
Okay. And now we are applicated that in other projects too, in the city center, the periphery of the city center. We have heritage, people, we have problems of drugs, violence.
Yes.
There we have to work in all
Aspects.
Yes.
So we hope to create an NBS network in our city to improve the knowledge about NBS, but also to introduce all the concepts of euPOLIS in our planification strategies. We will continue with the dissemination process because we find out that these have good results in the city. We already have positioned the NBS concept in different scales, so we want to continue with this dissemination process in webinars, in workshops, but also working with the city and with the citizens, because as Joanna says, there is a lot of social pressures in the city, so we have to work with them. And that's all. Thank you.
And to finish, I want to present, I'm Juan Jimenez, I'm the leader of the Empresa Renovación Urbana of Bogota. As you could see, we are very proud to be part of this big group, and even if we are just a follower city, we are decided to implement all that we are taking from here in there. These 3 projects that you see, all of them are in the stage of planification. All of them has the potential to implement, as you can see. And the city, which I'm representing, is decided to invest in those kind of solutions. All of these 3 projects and 2 or 3 more that are not about planification but are buildings, are implementing suits, are implementing surfaces to drain the water. So I hope in not many years we can go and see those things that we have learned from here. And we are ready to follow growing on these solutions and implementing each day more and more, because I think Colombia and Bogota is in a moment which these concepts are moving from, it costs much money. I think people is realizing that even though it has to represent an investment important, we are designed to do that. We are in our projects, we know now that it's a bit more expensive, but we have to do that. So in these 3 projects and in other more smaller, we are having these solutions, and Juliana and our partnerships from the university and the city, I think is working very well, because they and Joanna's team are thinking I'm doing my best to go with the mayor and say, we need money, we need money, we need money, we have to do, and we are going to do. So one of the things that we have talked to Juliana is that we would like to advance in the measuring of the benefits, because I think it's one of the things that we don't have, and I think it's very, even not because of the money, we don't have the knowledge about that. So those things that is about questionnaires, okay, we are learning and we are copying. I just say copying, but we are following. But those which are about technology, we would like to get the support of you to get it there. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Juan, thank you. You have, is this working? Yeah, now it's working. You have non-intentionally given a very good introduction for the next presentation. So euPOLIS is not only about public health and well-being, not only about science and engineering solutions that will improve the status of the nature, it also affects economy. Not only the local economy, but the state economy, and the next presentation is about that. It's about impact of science to economical growth, which will be presented by our colleague Eirini Marinou from Geosystems Hellas. Please.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone, for those who don't know me. I'm Eirini Marinou. I'm the project manager in Geosystems Hellas. I'm a new entry in this project. However, I'm pretty sure with your insightful presentations that today I will be an advanced member once I leave this room. So, today this presentation will demonstrate basically the methodology for establishing the exploitation strategy of the euPOLIS project, and it is included in Work Package 10. Work Package 10 has the title Exploitation Activities, Route to the Market, and Project Sustainability. This work package is led by Geosystems Hellas, along with the SCM partners, the VFI, and consortium cities. All the SCM partners are participating in the formation of this exploitation strategy, not only by the formation, not only with creation of the relevant documentation, but also with the organization of all the related exploitation workshops. So first of all, I would like to infer in the main goal of this exploitation strategy. It is very important to develop a common and efficient strategy for the exploitation of the insights of the project. And this is basically because we want to make sure that after and during the project's lifetime, all the relevant stakeholders will be there to more like make the best possible way, make the best possible use of these project outcomes. So we considered that we have three main targets. The first target is to develop and apply exploitation strategies and plans to foster market introduction of the key innovations of the project within the wider European community of cities. The last step will be to develop a business plan. Secondly, to define a clear vision by means of a roadmap, which includes key factors, scenarios, and impacts, with the main goal to accelerate the deployment of euPOLIS in Europe and worldwide. And last but not least, to agree on a plan for ensuring the project's sustainability, which is one of the most important key of the exploitation strategy. So, in order to develop the development in general of a complete and consolidated exploitation strategy business plan is executed in three distinct steps: the feasibility study guidelines, the business modeling, and the business plan. So first, let's dive in the feasibility study guidelines. This is the first step towards a business plan framework, and actually it aims to help in the workability and profitability of the business case. The feasibility study is aimed to related green-blue growth, climate change, well-being aspects, the description of the outcomes to be commercialized, market identification and analysis, the exit strategies, and as well as the personal and organizational requirements. The euPOLIS team members are working systematically in order to achieve an integrate combination of knowledge from different sectors, such as engineering, earth observation, Internet of Things, physical, health, biological, and social sciences and sectors, and to marry this and combine this with urban planning and ICT in order to strengthen and grow the competitiveness and all the growth of the companies both inside the consortium as well as in the national networks. This approach can include 3 different phases of action. First, to identify the status and project requirements. Second, to introduce the euPOLIS solution performance. And last, the implementation of natural-based solutions under the euPOLIS solution. Secondly, we move on to the business modeling. So it is important to utilize the business model canvas or else the BMC approach. I will explain later, I have an example. And make use of proper positioning of the outcomes, and that can be established with the elaboration of an effective business cycle involving all project partners and, of course, stakeholders. Here, I've included a table. This is a business model canvas. This is the first outline of economic and non-economic viability analysis, and it shows the project sustainability. And it combined the different sectors like cost structure, revenue streams, key partners, all of them together. And this can be used to actually create the final business plan. Last but not least, the business plan. The business plan overall is one of the keys, plays a significant role because it needs to define the most proper way to introduce all the outcomes of the project into the market. So it's really important to use funding opportunities like fundings from the private sector or from regional or national programs. A very good example and very good opportunity is the Next Generation EU Recovery Plan, which is something new and aims to transfer knowledge to be able to revive from all the COVID-19 restrictions and problems that it created. And it's a very good opportunity to create more job opportunities in the future for a more sustainable and with more opportunities Europe that we really want to live in. One of the envisions of Europe is to live in a post-COVID era that it's more green, it's more digital, and of course it's more sustainable and resilient. So in order to maximize the impact of the main outcomes of the project, we need to process some means in order to increase the market readiness of natural-based solution applications. We need to focus on mechanisms to lower market entry barriers and make the right decision in the perfect position of the project output in the best way that we can. Here I have a table. This was created in part of separate meetings along the euPOLIS team members, and it shows the potential customers and potential like end users. But what is the beyond state-of-the-art contribution? Like every exploitation plan needs, of course, the best possible interaction with its end users and its potential customers. So we thought that the best way is to have a remote digital form that you have already all completed. This is just an example from Mikser. It's from Maja. And however, due to the restriction of COVID-19, we had to promote this remotely. Of course, in-person interaction is even better. However, we managed to get a valuable feedback and reevaluate all the needs of the potential end users. So the way forward, 4 distinct steps. First, to develop a long-term vision roadmap, and this can be achieved by ensuring that results are taken up by the relevant stakeholders, as I already told you, during and after the project's lifetime. Secondly, to evaluate and assess methodology in order to stress test the selected set of natural-based solutions interventions with an explicit view of the future. Third, the route to the market. The introduction to the market is very important, and we need to analyze each natural-based solution project, scaling up potential. And 4, the consensus bidding workshops. Those can stimulate innovative proposals for widespread adoption or implementation. So the future plan involves different kind of ideas. So first, we can publish the key exploitable results by using different European exploitation tools like Horizon Results Platform or the HRP TV and use like informative audiovisual material. And the most important, the Horizon Results Booster, which is a new matchmaking tool. We can also achieve a consultant and in order to transfer in the best way the outcomes in the end users and the potential investors or the stakeholders. Here I've included also the ideas of the exploitation brochures in which we can add technical ideas, solution and all the products that the project offers, and of course the exploitation workshops for the consortium, like the one we have now. And we also had this workshop. I don't know which of you were there. This was organized by Geosystems on 16 and 17 of June of 2022. And some ideas for the work package then were discussed there. We had a brainstorming, and some of you gave very good visions of how to deliver the results. Fun fact, I was also there because I was really interested for the project ideas. I really like the basis of this project. It was the first time that I was in Geosystems, alas, and I didn't know that fate was organized in the background for me, that I will be here with you today. So I'm really happy. And the thing that I want to close with, to conclude, is I think the most important relationship that we want to achieve is this: nature and citizens hand in hand. And I kept in mind during all those presentations 4 keynotes. That first, we need to have all those innovative applications and solutions that I saw in each and every presentation of you. Second, I kept in mind what Ranko mentioned, that it's very important to have an innovative mindset in order to proceed with that. Third, what Aleksandra and Maja mentioned, that we have to draw their attention of the citizens and all the stakeholders or innovators, etc. And most important, to scale up these ideas and go further than the demo sites. And last but not least, combine all those things and achieve a great exploitation deliver of the result in order to see our little efforts to be published and be economically used. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm really happy that I'm here with you today.